Hi, everyone. Welcome to Me Vision Academy. It's our award presentation of successful leadership to two very interesting individuals that I've come with for quite a few years, actually, Gareth Cliff and Rina Broomberg. It's hard to separate them, to be very honest. So Gareth, of course, former well-known presenter on radio, 5FM, 702, and so on. Then he became a businessman, which I think is wonderful. Calls himself pot father. I like that term. And he partnered with Rina Broomberg to start Cliff Central, and they kind of pioneered podcasting to a very large degree. And they recently also started Podcast Party. Gareth also started the Real Network. So continuing the journey of, I guess, pioneering broadcasting and making a difference in the process. To both of you, a warm welcome.
Thank you, Adrian. Nice to see you.
It's really good to see you as well. Thank you for technology. So I'm going to first present the actual award to each of you, and then I'm going to ask you that question that we ask all successful leaders. So let me share screen. Start here with Gareth. An exclusive recognition of successful leadership awarded to yourself, Gareth. Fearlessly challenging. So it's for what? At least these things, by the way. Fearlessly challenging norms as an influential figure. And more so now, I think, than even in the past. Perhaps successfully transitioning from a preeminent radio show host to spearheading the forefront of podcasting through Cliff Central. Then excelling as a broadcaster, influencer, and businessman now through the Real Network and Podcast Party. So I'm assuming taking it to the next level. We'll watch closely. It's exciting. Broadcasting, or broadening rather, intellectual horizons and cultivating critical thinking. And then providing many with a platform to lead. In our view, cultivating more leaders who can share their talents. So thank you for that. A privilege to sign on behalf of Me Vision Academy. So I'm going to stop sharing there. And then Rina. Also, exclusive recognition of successful leadership awarded to yourself, leading self and others successfully in your own way. It was always a pleasure to work with you, spearheading the forefront also of podcasting through Cliff Central, and then successfully leading a business that influences society because, in part, and this is my personal view, of your ability to manage a very dynamic and unique partnership. And I'm not saying Gareth can't do that. Obviously, he played his role, but I think Rina has a calming, very mature effect and very good at managing partnerships and relationships and continuing your legacy through Podcast Party and other efforts as well. And then, as I said to Gareth, providing many with a platform to lead. In other words, cultivating more successful leaders in our country and our continent, on our continent. And again, a privilege to sign on behalf of Me Vision Academy. So that's the actual award. Congratulations, formally. And
thanks, Adrian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's ask the question. I'm going to start with Rina. Rina, the question in absolute essence, what have you learned about how to be a successful leader, or what is successful leadership from your own experience, but also what you've maybe watched? You know, you've watched many leaders and seen many leaders around you succeed and fail. So give us your best tip or tips on successful leadership.
I think having a vision and knowing where you're going is very important, but at the same time, not being attached to outcome. Not to say being detached, but having the ability to readjust as new opportunities, new influences may come into play. So while having a focus, also having cognizance of the bigger picture and allowing to change course if necessary, and taking people with you. And perhaps in one of the biggest issues that I've found over the years is communication, breakdown in communication. So for me, what is really important is people doing what they say they're going to do and saying what they mean. And to me, that's the core of integrity, and it's also where communication breaks down. And if we could stick to that, then we would stay on that course of achieving the vision.
Thank you, Rina. So it doesn't make sense to look through a tunnel at a vision, does it?
No.
Tunnel vision of a vision, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely not. And to take one step at a time. not to be in too much of a hurry to get to that end goal, which often people see as money. And so a lot can be sacrificed along the way for what becomes greed.
Rina, thank you so much. And Gareth, same thing. In absolute essence, what have you learned to be successful leadership? I'm not sure you always saw yourself as a leader necessarily when you were a broadcaster.
I'm not sure I even see that now. I've always kind of been reluctant to be anyone's role model or to set myself up as some kind of leader. I think it's happened by default because I've been saying things that I believe in, and I've sometimes said unpopular things. But I don't know. I don't know what leadership really looks like. I think that these days we've got a very tough task trying to decide who our leaders are. They're all, if you look around the world right now, there's not one of the people who are in charge of countries or major companies that I would regard as being brilliant, fantastic people that you would have picked 20, 30 years ago. I think that a lot of them are very ordinary people who've just hung around long enough and who do the absolute bare minimum to be qualified as leaders. I don't think that leadership is that. I hope it isn't. That would be very boring if it was. I mean, people like Joe Biden and Rishi Sunak and Modi in India, these are not the kind of people who history will say in 100 years' time, wow, they were spectacular. They shot the lights out. They were such leaders. The way we talk about Churchill, or the way we talk about Napoleon, the way we talk about Charlemagne. I just don't see that with these people. I see a whole bunch of bureaucrats. But if there is something to leadership, I think it's also being able to say deeply unpopular things without worry about what research groups or marketing experts are going to tell you. Real leaders take responsibility. Someone said to me once that actually, I can't remember who it was, or I'd give them credit, but a leader is someone who's willing to die for their people. I mean, that's a very extreme point of view, but if you are a real leader, you'll be prepared to die for something. Now, I don't know how many leaders today would be prepared to die for anything, let alone for their people or their company or their ideas, but probably a tiny minority of those. And you probably find there's an overlap between the real leaders and the ones who would.
Thank you, Gareth. Appreciate that. And Rina, wonderful comments. Can't wait to share it. And thank you for what you're doing together and separately, to, I don't know, get people to think and learn and I don't know, expand their horizons.
Thanks to you. I mean, you've done an enormous amount for leadership, and you keep on pushing the questions that you've asked us this morning. You're trying to find those answers, and you've done more work than almost anyone I know in trying to ascertain what it is that makes people leaders. And I think in this country, we've got a few people who are really trying to do the best job they can. We've got an election coming up this year. A big part of what we do as the podcast parties, we're trying to encourage that critical thinking and talking to people who put themselves in the position of leadership, whether they actually are leaders or not, we'll have to decide. But I think that what you're doing is tremendous. You're helping. You've created a library of really useful information, and you think very, very deeply about these things. You consider very carefully what the qualities and characteristics of real leaders are, and it's made me think.
Thank you, Gareth.
And Adrian, just from me, as Cliff Central turned 10 this month, a huge thank you to you for pioneering this platform with us. You were one of our founder hosts with the leadership platform, and your father, Louis, and you believed in us, you took a chance with us, and it's really because of people like you that gave us the confidence to even move forward. And so huge thank you to you and to Louis for being part of our journey.
Well, it was such a great adventure. I often wondered whether I should have sort of steered away, but our journey is a unique one. And thank you for taking us on that journey.
Sure.